Beautiful beaches popular amongst tourists, almost uninhabited mountains, peaceful countryside as far as the eye can see. Sinaloa hides its dark side well.
What if I told you that one of the world's most dangerous criminal organizations is hiding in plain sight? The Sinaloa Cartel has ruled the global drug trade for years, operating in the shadows and leaving a trail of chaos. But now, shocking new leaks are revealing what's really going on behind the scenes.
More than 100 people are dead or missing in Mexico's western Sinaloa state since rival factions of the Sinaloa Cartel began clashing on September the 9th, with the gruesome violence showing no signs of stopping.
So, how is Ismael El Mayo Zambada managing to hold on to power while battling the Chapitos? Why do so many people still join this risky world despite the dangers? Today, we're diving into the secrets of El Mayo's operations, exploring the fierce fight for control, and uncovering the current state of the cartel war that's reshaping Mexico's future. Let's get into it. We have to start by talking about the man himself, Ismael El Mayo Zambada. He's a name that, for many, might not ring as loud as El Chapo Guzman, but make no mistake, El Mayo has been the true architect of the Sinaloa Cartel for decades. Unlike El Chapo, who thrived on media attention and public recognition, Mayo is the opposite. He's the shadow lurking behind the scenes. For over 50 years, Mayo has managed to avoid the fate of so many of his peers, captured, killed, or betrayed. He's known for being calculated, strategic, and incredibly cautious. While others fell, Mayo has remained one step ahead, and that's the thing about him. He's not flashy. You won't find stories of him showing off wealth or making grand statements. Instead, he operates like a ghost, rarely seen, but always felt. It's his low profile that has allowed him to remain at the top of the Sinaloa Cartel for so long. Now let's break it down super simply. El Mayo's secret operations just got exposed, and it's wild. Unlike El Chapo, who loved being in the spotlight, El Mayo has always preferred staying hidden. He's been running things quietly for decades, and now, thanks to these leaks, we're seeing how he's kept it all together for so long. These leaked details show just how well organized El Mayo's operations are. Think of it like a big company. Everyone has their role, whether it's making drugs, moving them across borders, or handling the money. Everything's planned out and runs smoothly. Even if someone gets caught or taken down, it's not just about drug deals either. They've expanded into legit businesses and crazy money laundering schemes that stretch across the world. The reason the Sinaloa Cartel keeps surviving and thriving while others fall apart is because they don't just rely on violence or force. They're all about strategy, efficiency, and smart planning. El Mayo's genius move was to spread out control across different leaders. Each lieutenant has their own section to manage, and they're given the freedom to handle things in their own way. But they still answer to the cartel as a whole, so there's loyalty across the board. This setup makes it almost impossible for law enforcement to take down the entire cartel at once. Even if one leader gets arrested or taken out, another one steps up right away to keep the operation going. It's like a well-oiled machine that doesn't stop. That's why they're still around, and why they keep outsmarting their rivals and the authorities.
The synthetic drugs that compete with Manuel's opium.
But what's really fascinating is how the cartel has adapted to the changing trade. Over the years, they've diversified their product line. We're not just talking about cocaine and meth anymore. Fentanyl, synthetic drugs, these are the new money makers. They're easier to produce, harder to detect, and far more profitable. The leaks show us just how ahead of the curve Mayo's operations are. The leaks also show how much the cartel has its hands in everything. Politics, businesses, even the local economies in Mexico. They've become so embedded in daily life that it's not just a cartel problem anymore. It's a whole system. What's really nuts is how El Mayo has kept the whole operation under the radar. He runs things quietly and makes sure the money keeps flowing, no matter what. Even with these secrets coming out, shutting him down is a whole different battle. The leaks give us a glimpse, but taking down something this big, it's going to take a lot more. Here's where things get really interesting. The ongoing power struggle within the Sinaloa Cartel. On one side, you have El Mayo, the old guard, the man who built the empire. On the other, you have Los Chapitos, the sons of El Chapo, trying to take control of the legacy their father left behind. This war isn't just a family feud, it's a battle for the soul of the cartel. Los Chapitos are younger, more impulsive, and far more willing to engage in violent, reckless behavior. They want power, and they want it now. El Mayo, on the other hand, is patient. He's playing the long game. The leaked information shows that this conflict is one of the main drivers of the violence we're seeing across Mexico, particularly in areas like Sinaloa and Sonora. Both factions are fighting for control of key trafficking routes and territories. And while Los Chapitos are more media-friendly, often flaunting their wealth and power, El Mayo is quietly consolidating his position behind the scenes. It's a war of two worlds, the flashy violence of Los Chapitos versus the calculated, methodical approach of Mayo. And right now, it's anyone's game. One of the big questions people always ask is why? Why would someone join a cartel, knowing the risks, the violence, the almost inevitable doom that comes with it? The answer is complicated, and while for some it may be greed or ambition, for many it's about survival. In many parts of Mexico, the cartel is the only game in town. The government is weak, corrupt, or absent altogether. In these areas, the cartel provides something the state doesn't: jobs, protection, and a sense of community. If you're a young person growing up in a rural area with no opportunities, joining the cartel might seem like the only way out. The cartel offers money, power, and a chance to escape poverty. It's dangerous, sure, but so is living in extreme poverty. Many see it as a better option than struggling with no end in sight. The leaks have shown that El Mayo's faction often recruits from these poorer regions, where they can offer a sense of belonging. For many, joining the cartel isn't a glamorous choice, it's a desperate one.
Mexican media reported at least 10 new deaths this weekend, including corpses found wearing sombreros or with pizza slices pegged onto them with knives in the northwestern state of Sinaloa, where rival cartel factions have been in open conflict with each other and authorities in recent days.
The ongoing war between El Mayo's faction and Los Chapitos isn't just a criminal issue, it's a national crisis that's affecting the entire country. Mexico has seen a sharp rise in violence over the past decade, much of it fueled by cartel wars. Regions like Sinaloa, Sonora, and Baja California have become battlefields where rival factions clash for control of trafficking routes. Civilians are often caught in the crossfire, with entire towns sometimes becoming war zones. The government, while trying to crack down, is overwhelmed. Corruption runs deep, and many officials have either been bought off or are too scared to act. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, led by Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, aka El Mencho, is also making things worse. CJNG is one of the most violent groups in Mexico, and they're not afraid to take on the Sinaloa Cartel directly. In fact, they've been expanding aggressively, trying to seize territories long controlled by Sinaloa. This has turned the cartel war into a multi-front battle. El Mayo and Los Chapitos are not only fighting each other, but also contending with rivals like CJNG. It's a chaotic situation that shows no signs of slowing down. So, what do these recent leaks tell us? In short, they show just how deeply embedded the Sinaloa Cartel is in both the trade and Mexican society. They reveal a level of sophistication and organization that rivals legitimate businesses. We now know that El Mayo's operations are more far-reaching than we thought. His influence extends into politics, law enforcement, and even international markets. The leaks have exposed secret deals, bribery schemes, and smuggling routes that were previously hidden from public view. And perhaps most concerning is the way these operations seem almost unstoppable. Even with this information now out in the open, it's unclear if law enforcement can do much to dismantle Mayo's empire. The cartel is simply too embedded, too powerful, and too adaptable. Looking forward, what does the future hold for El Mayo and the Sinaloa Cartel? That's the big question. El Mayo is getting older, and rumors are circulating that his health is failing. If Mayo steps down or is captured, it could throw the cartel into even more chaos. Without his steady hand, Los Chapitos could gain full control, which would likely lead to an even more violent cartel. But on the other hand, Mayo could already be grooming a successor, someone who can maintain his careful, methodical approach to running the cartel. If that happens, the Sinaloa Cartel could continue its dominance, with Mayo's influence living on through his chosen successor.
In 15 years, this war has already led to the death.
One thing is clear: whether El Mayo is in charge or not, the Sinaloa Cartel isn't going away anytime soon. It's too entrenched in the fabric of Mexico's economy and society to disappear overnight. The real question is, what kind of cartel will it become? Will it continue under Mayo's strategic leadership, or will it become more violent and chaotic under Los Chapitos? The story of the Sinaloa Cartel is far from over. Despite leaks, arrests, and the collapse of some of its key players, the cartel remains a juggernaut in the world of organized crime. The recent exposure of El Mayo's secret operations only serves to highlight just how deep its roots go. The cartel has thrived for decades under El Mayo's leadership, even when rivals crumbled and law enforcement thought they had the upper hand.
Y al frente va un Cristo que lleva onix y va iluminado y ya se ilumina todo el Cristo. Y lleva barandal alrededor y lleva una cocineta arriba y lleva 3 aires acondicionados. Y ya lleva bocinas de música y tiene luz arriba de manguera de colores. Y va un candelabro cuelga a la mitad de la capilla.
And the truth is, even with these secret operations leaked to the public, the cartel structure is so deeply ingrained in the fabric of Mexico and beyond that taking down a few key players won't be enough to dismantle it. The cartel adapts, evolves, and presses on. This adaptability is what has made the Sinaloa Cartel so dangerous and resilient. It's not a simple organization of dealers. This is a multi-generational, multifaceted empire operating like a corporation with intricate hierarchies, alliances, and divisions. With or without El Mayo at the helm, the Sinaloa Cartel will continue to thrive, expand, and exert influence across Mexico and the globe.
Que es la manera de que tengan miedo, pues, y que no se metan al territorio de ellos. Diario aparecen los muchachos en estas condiciones, con muestras de tortura.
In Mexico, this drug war between rival cartels kills almost 25,000 people every year.
So, what does this mean for Mexico? Well, it's clear that the country is still in the grips of a deep, ongoing war, one that's as much about power and control as it is about drugs. The cartel war has been a constant backdrop for Mexico over the last decade, and the battle between El Mayo and Los Chapitos only adds more fuel to this raging fire. In many parts of the country, the cartel is the government. In rural areas, they provide jobs, they provide protection, and they essentially run the local economy. For people living in these regions, the Sinaloa Cartel isn't just a criminal organization, they are an everyday reality. For many, the choice to join isn't really a choice at all. It's about survival.
Of more than 230,000 people in Mexico.
The Mexican government, while taking steps to combat cartel influence, faces a complex challenge. Corruption runs deep, with many officials and law enforcement officers being bought off by cartel money. And even those who aren't corrupt often find themselves outgunned and outmanned by cartel armies, armed with high-grade military weaponry. The leaked operations of El Mayo's faction highlight how deeply embedded the Sinaloa Cartel is, not just in the drug trade, but in politics, business, and society. Taking them down will require more than just cracking down on routes. It will require a fundamental shift in how the Mexican government and its institutions operate. And as of now, that change seems far off. But it's not just Mexico that's feeling the weight of the Sinaloa Cartel. The cartel's reach extends far beyond the country's borders. With operations across North America, Europe, and even parts of Asia, the Sinaloa Cartel is truly a global criminal enterprise. The leaks show that El Mayo's faction has been heavily involved in not only smuggling into the US, but also laundering money through various international networks. From using shell companies to funneling cash through legitimate businesses, the cartel's operations are vast and sophisticated. They have become experts at exploiting weak points in financial systems to move billions of dollars across borders. But the cartel isn't stopping there. They're constantly looking for new markets, new opportunities, and new ways to expand their empire. And with the structure and reach that El Mayo has built, there's little doubt that the Sinaloa Cartel will continue to grow in influence around the world.
According to sources, between 200 and 800 sicarios from different cartels are attacking the city. They are equipped with heavy machine guns mounted on pickup trucks.
Now, the million-dollar question, can the Sinaloa Cartel ever be taken down? It's a question that law enforcement agencies have been grappling with for years, and while there have been some successes, like the capture of El Chapo, the reality is that the cartel, as a whole, is still standing strong. The leaks we've seen show just how deeply entrenched the Sinaloa Cartel is, and how its operations have evolved to stay ahead of law enforcement. Even if El Mayo is eventually captured, it's unlikely that his arrest would spell the end of the cartel. His decentralized leadership style means that the cartel can continue operating without him. In fact, the leaks suggest that Mayo has already put measures in place to ensure the cartel's survival even in his absence. And then, of course, there's the question of Los Chapitos. If El Mayo were to fall, would they be able to consolidate power and take control of the cartel, or would they splinter off, leading to more infighting and violence? It's hard to say. What is clear, though, is that the Sinaloa Cartel is far from finished. It's a hydra. Cut off one head and another grows back in its place. Taking down a cartel like this will require more than just arresting the top leaders. It will require dismantling the entire network, from the foot soldiers to the money launderers to the corrupt officials who protect them. So, where does the Sinaloa Cartel go from here? The leaked operations give us a glimpse into the inner workings of the organization, but they also show us just how resilient, adaptive, and dangerous this cartel remains. Whether El Mayo stays in power or Los Chapitos manage to seize control, one thing is clear: the Sinaloa Cartel is not going anywhere. It's a shadow that continues to loom over Mexico, and its influence is felt across the world. As long as there is demand for drugs, and as long as the cartel can exploit weaknesses in governments and financial systems, they will continue to thrive. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the Sinaloa Cartel will ever be taken down, or will it continue to evolve and grow? We'll be keeping a close eye on this story as it develops. See you next time.